What you're looking at here is a Minecraft map art made from almost 50 million blocks, spread over 80,000 chunks of custom terrain, with all resources gathered by hand. This whole thing took almost 2.5 years to make. If that wasn't crazy enough, it was built on 2b2t, Minecraft's oldest anarchy server, meaning it could have been found and griefed at any time. So stick around as we explore how this was all possible, and make sure you stay till the end as we tour its secret location. This is the incredible story of Kevin KC 2014, 2b2t's most spectacular map artist. A map art in Minecraft uses in-game blocks to create a top-down pixel art of almost any visual you desire. It's a very clever way of introducing complex art into Minecraft's blocky aesthetic, and allows you to really express your personality in-game. Here's one of my favorites I always display at my bases. Map arts quickly became a huge part of 2b2t's diverse and sometimes controversial culture, and there have been many great museums showcasing their history. There is even a huge collector and creator community on Discord. The first crude map art appeared on the server in 2013, and our story shows the incredible limits they've been taken to. Kevin KC 2014 joined 2b2t in late 2019 after being inspired by watching FitMC videos, and instantly embarked on an epic journey. After escaping spawn, he travelled along one of the diagonal nether highways, finding gear along the way. Eventually, he reached the end of the highway at 1 million blocks and found the Hand, a monument built by the motorway extension gurus. With his next goal being the world border, he then spent the next 6 months flying there via the overworld, finally arriving in April of 2020. During his travels, he visited the grief base Abaddon and saw their map art called Abaddon Last Art, which inspired him to start creating his own map arts. Although he didn't have a background in art, he did have extensive programming knowledge, which would end up being vital in Kevin's journey. Inspired by friends and his love for Final Fantasy VII, he embarked on his first ever map art project called The Flower Girl, consisting of over 98,000 blocks and taking 2 weeks to complete. After this, he felt ready for his first large-scale project, the epic Angel's Mirror. Taking a crazy 1.5 years to complete, Kevin put his programming knowledge to good use and created a custom baritone mod to automate most of the building process. He also gathered almost all the materials by hand and needed 4 million blocks to complete the project by March of 2022. Whilst constructing another smaller map art, Kevin met the base hunter Z-Tai, and they decided to collaborate on a new project, one that would push both of them to the limit. Over the next 2 months, they decided on a location and what artwork they'd like to use, Hiking by WLOP. They determined the map art would need to be spread across 30 by 42 maps, making it the second biggest map art ever on 2b2t. However, the biggest map art was flat and only took 18 days to make, whereas Kevin's project, now titled Angel's Melody, would take years due to the insane infrastructure, manual resource grinding, and intricate staircase design. Upon arriving at the location over 10 million blocks from spawn in June of 2022, they soon realized that no existing oceans would be large enough to build upon. So they decided to create a completely custom massive ocean, firstly by placing ice blocks on top of the terrain. This was done row by row and would cause the entire server's TPS to drop down to around 10, lagging everyone out. They created a detailed spreadsheet showing all the resources they needed, and soon realized they'd need an army of accounts at the site, 20 in total. As 2b2t was still on version 1.12.2 at the time, they were able to use the name change Pearl exploit to get all the accounts out there. These days, when an Ender Pearl is thrown, it's linked to a player's Minecraft account, but back then, it was only linked to a username. So if you threw an Ender Pearl into an unloaded chunk, then swapped usernames with another account somewhere else on the map, when the Pearl got loaded, the new account with the username would get teleported to that location. Even with this though, it still took 4 months for Kevin to get all the accounts out there. 20 accounts worked in rotation, with 6 always online, 5 doing all the building and 1 doing all the farming. By January of 2023, all the materials had been collected, and by July the custom ocean had been completed as well. Things were going well and Kevin was really happy. However, in August of 2023, disaster struck. After being on version 1.12.2 for 7 years, 2b2t finally updated to version 1.19, bringing several controversial changes. One of the most significant was reducing the amount of stacked items on the server, assuming they had all been unfairly created using duplication glitches. For Kevin, this meant many of his hard-grinded materials were reduced by over 90%, setting him back months. Luckily, a couple of weeks later, in an unprecedented move, the server was rolled back and many of of the controversial changes removed. Although this meant Kevin had all his items back, the project still needed to be paused for several weeks so he could grind materials for 7 dubs of soul torches, as mob spawning had been increased to crazy levels. Once this was done, construction resumed, and by September the 3rd, 2024, it was completed, almost 2.5 years after starting. It's hard to really put into words the scale of this project. I think it would be best if I just showed you. So here we are on a world download of the base, and the first thing you spawn into is this little ice platform. There's a pretty crazy carpet duper setup. There's his bed, there's a bunch of storage, and a singular pearl. But this is it. This is the only other build here other than the map art, and I absolutely love that. It's all about the art, no crazy buildings. That's fantastic to me. You then go underneath the map art, all the rows of ice as far as the eye can see, and we're also in the custom ocean. This is absolutely insane. And finally we rise out, and here we are. Just look at this thing. As someone who struggles to put a second story on a house in Minecraft, my brain simply cannot comprehend the planning and effort it took into building something like this. I did ask Kevin why he does this on 2b2t when it can be griefed, and he just said he likes the process, he likes the challenge. And now that maps can be locked, even if it does get griefed, the art can live on forever. Do you really think that Notch, when he created the game, he expected people to be making stuff like this? What an absolutely crazy thing to do. Kevin, you are a legend. Guys, thank you so much for watching. This video was a lot of fun to make. A special thank you to Kevin KC 2014 for sharing his story and allowing me to tell it. Also, a big thanks to Clink Clank for helping me out with my research. And finally, as always, a big shout out to all my channel members and Twitch subs. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know by leaving a comment, liking and subscribing, as there are many more exciting stories to tell. But that's it for now, so until next time, take it easy.